Good morning, my name is Andréa Julien and I'm going to talk about the Millenial dynamics of vegetation and agropastoral activities recorded from two sites in the Northern Alps, the Glières and the Lake Laouchets. Since a few years, more ecological studies have been performed in the Northern Alps and have helped us to better understand the past dynamics of vegetation and human activities. A PCR project allows us to study two new sites in this area with the realization of two master internships, mine and contemporaries, and allows, by the way, to improve the resolution of biological data in this area. The first site, the Glières peat bog, is localized on a plateau in the Born-Aravis massif at the transition between montane and subalpine belt. And the second site, the Lake Laouchets, is localized on the Ogifre massif at the subalpine belt. For both sites, the aim was to combine a multi-analysis approach to reconstruct past vegetation and human activities. Indeed, pollen, macrocharcoal and the copophilous fungi are performed on both sites and DNA only on the Lake Laouchets because it's very complicated to preserve DNA on the peat bog environment. So to start, I'll present you the age model of the Glières. It was made with 9 hydrocarbon dates, of which 2 were excluded, and 3 lead pollution peaks supported the age model, the contemporary, the medieval, and the antique. We sampled every 5 to 10 centimeters over the core, and below 240 centimeters, the samples were sterile, so with pollen and copophilous fungi, we were able to reconstruct around 7,000 years of history, and a little more with macrocharcoal. The Laouchet site history is a little shorter than that of the Glières, around 5,000 years. 6 radiocarbon dates was used to construct the age model, and 1 was excluded. And here too, the lead pollution peaks supported the age model. And the same method as for the Glières site was applied for the sampling. So I'm going to introduce you the results of the Glières site. You can see here the simplified pollen diagram, but I won't dwell on it because I will then present you a figure with all the analyzed period by period. So you can see on this figure the main pollen taxa with the percentage of arboreal and non-arboreal pollen, the transition between fir and spruce, the cultivated species in dark pink, and the pastoral indicators in orange and the macrocharcoal in yellow. Like I said previously, the vegetation history at the Glières stretches around 7,000 years and begins with the first period characterized by the abundance of fir and some mesothermophile taxa also in decline. Then, a first phase more favorable to the herbaceous species can be observed with the increase of the poaceae, and this may be due to changes in edaphic conditions or to a potential anthropogenic impact and local pastoralism on the peat bog. Indeed, the copophilous fungi increased during this period, especially Sporomyla and Podospora, and we can also see a slight increase of the cereals at the end of the Neolithic. However, no other indicators point to pastoral activities, and the macrocharcoal are almost inexistent like Montade. Then, the Bronze Age and the Iron Age period are characterized by a high abundance of the tree cover, the most important of all the entire sequence, and spruce probably progress on the upper belts and beech on the lower belts. The period between the beginning of the Antiquity and the end of the Middle Age is marked by an intense phase of anthropogenic activities, and the early Roman period is characterized by the decrease of arboreal pollen and the increase of the poaceae, and by the occurrence of the fruit trees cultivation, a characteristic of this period. While the Middle Age is characterized by the occurrence of cultivated species like hops, hams, and cereals, and by a decrease of the beech, probably due to the deforestation. Other pastoral indicators increased during this period, such as plantago, Sporomyla, and macrocharcoal, and highlight the phase of intensification of agropastoral activities during this period. And to finish on these results, last period of decrease of the arboreal pollen can be observed, and is be due to the agricultural decline of the 20th century, which led to a phase of reforestation on the mountain environments. So the Glières site has essentially forest history due to its elevation at the mountain belt, but with some phase of anthropization favored by its topography. So now the results for the Laouchets site. Here, the simplified pollen diagram with the history a little shorter than that of the Glières, which begins with first period, like in Glières, characterized by the abundance of fir and mesothermal trees at the end of the Neolithic. Then, from 4,500 years called PP, we can observe the spruce-fir transitions, fir-spruce transition, and an increase of the order. During the Iron Age, we can observe a first phase of anthropization, and pollen shows a decrease of the arboreal pollen, especially pine and alder, and an increase of many pastoral indicators such as plantago, spore mila, and the week of fire signal, so we can notice a phase of anthropogenic activities. Like I said previously, DNA analysis are realized on this sequence, but on this site they don't work very well, and the results are very complicated to interpret, but and shows variation at a very, very local scale around the lake. But for the phase of anthropization, few taxa show similar trends to those of the pollen, and including the poa from the Poaceae family, which increase during this period. For the DNA analysis, we realize 4 replicates per samples, and the results are expressed in number of positive replicates, and the size of the dots represents the average number of reads. During the Antiquity, we can observe a phase of the closure of the landscape with the increase of arboreal pollen, and especially alder, and we can also see the appearance of cultivated trees characteristic, fruit trees cultivation, characteristic of this period at the lower limits. During the Middle Age, a second phase of anthropization is identified, but more intensely marked than during the first phase. And once again, all agropastoral indicators increase: the cultivated species, the plantago, the corophyllous fungi, and the macrocharcoal. And to finish on this, and once again, the few taxa from DNA analysis confirm this phase of opening landscape with the increase of Campanulaceae and lotus. And to finish, last period is characterized by a phase of reforestation due to the agricultural decline, like in Glières. So now I have presented the main vegetation dynamics. Let's talk about the phase of anthropization. Like I said previously, a potential phase of anthropogenic activities can be observed on the Glières site, but not in the Laouchets, around 3,000 years called BC, with the increase of the Poaceae, the spore mila, and the cereals. And the strands can also be observed in 2 other sites in this area, in the Lake Anterne and in the Lake Latuile, where mammal DNA are detected during this period. Then, a first phase during the Iron Age is identified at the Laouchet site, but not in the Glières, with the increase of plantago and spore mila. And these trends can also be observed in many sites in the Northern Alps, but especially in the Lake Anterne and in the Lake Ge, where many pastoral indicators increase. At the beginning of the Antiquity and during the phase of reforestation on the sequence of the Laouchet, we can observe the beginning of an intense phase of anthropogenic activities at the Glières sites, and once again, similar trends can also be observed in the Lake Latuile. And a last phase of anthropization during the Middle Age is observed on both sites, and with the increase of all agropastoral indicators. And this phase is very well recorded in the Northern Alps, especially in the Lake Anterne, in the Lake Ge, and in the Lake Latuile, so in all belts. To conclude, we can observe similar trends between Glières and Laouchet for the dynamics of vegetation and consistency with the bibliography. And the comparison between these 2 sites allows us to see the advantages and the limits of using multi-approach analysis to reconstruct past vegetation and human activities. But if the regional variation are well recorded, many disparities can also be observed at the local scale and especially for the phase of anthropization. So for the perspectives and to better understand this past spatial dynamics, I started this year a PhD based on the modeling, and the aim was to transform the percentage of pollinic taxa abundance into percentage of land use by vegetation to obtain a clearly defined spatial evolution. And the first step consists of a regional calibration of the models. You can see on this map all the core sites used for the calibration. And the pollen and the DNA in the core tops, corresponding to the current period, will be compared to the current vegetation to get a spatial representativity for pollen and DNA. And the second steps consist of reconstructing locally on the Ogifre and the Aiguille Rouge Massif the past vegetation and the human activities by using paleoecological studies in this area, like Glières and Laouchets, for example. And I finished, so thank you for your attention.